Americans go home, Canadians track US boaters sneaking across the border. It's funny seeing this pop up while I'm on a flight from LA to Toronto. I'm a Canadian living in the US and it took me a while to get approval from my employer to work remotely from Canada since I've been working remotely from my apartment anyways. I thought the caravan part was hilarious. Since then, Canada's Border Patrol has effectively prevented caravans of Americans and their RVs and their campers from surging across the border as they normally do each summer. Build a wall and make the Americans pay for it? Fucking illegals from the south. Imagine what would happen if the US asked Canadians not to visit and we did this. I used to work at a marina in Plattsburgh, New York, right across the border from Montreal. This summer there was not a single boat at the marina, which normally has somewhere around 200 yachts docked there. Here was a country that had everything, absolutely everything. And now, 20 years later, is what? The world's biggest leper colony. The Queen, well, look who has come crawling back. Removed. Next day Canadians, the second wave of corona came from USA. When America sends its people, they're not sending the best. They're sending people that have lots of problems and they're bringing those problems. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists and some, I assume, are good people, but I speak to border guards and they're telling us what we're getting. There's some beautiful irony in Americans sneaking across borders. Apparently this is happening across the Great Lakes too, Americans just jumping in their boats, driving across, and hanging out on beaches on the Canadian side. Those towns are mostly tiny towns, with no local hospitals. If people get sick, they head to Windsor, London, Hamilton, etc. There are Coast Guard cutters stationed around, but they aren't pursuit boats, and the people probably haven't been trained to chase/detain illegal travelers. Let's face it, they are search and rescue with a side order of parading around to show the flag. Americans, you are our closest neighbors. We have gotten along with you for over 2 centuries. We are trading partners, we share culture. Okay, maybe we mostly leech cultural stuff from you, but we share our talent pool and many movies and shows are filmed here. We don't always agree with you, gun culture, and sometimes we feel really badly for you, universal healthcare, but we are pretty much as close as 2 different countries could be. So, this comes from a place of love. Stay the fuck home until our governments have agreed to allow travel. Really tough for these small towns without medical facilities. These Americans are putting others at risk for their own pleasure and they're turning off transponders to get them into Canada. I assume that part isn't illegal since only ships of over 300 gross tonnage require transponders, though I'm not sure. They're not illegally entering Canada, but they do need to report to a port of entry, it seems. https://en. Wikipedia, org/wiki/illegal_immigration_to_Canada, Buprov equals FLA1. Edit, u/don't_give_up86 said it's illegal to enter Canada this way. Irregular immigration to Canada, also called undocumented immigration to Canada or illegal immigration to Canada, includes persons who entered Canada on a travel visa but remained beyond the period of stay specified, or persons who entered Canada without presenting themselves at a port of entry. These illegals keep crossing the border in BC under the guise of going to Alaska. It wouldn't be too bad if they were sending their one scientist or their one teacher, but it's always these anti-vax, anti-mask, anti-science dickheads. They're bringing diseases, they're bringing ignorance. They're idiots, and some I assume are good people. No more warnings, hammer them to the fullest extent of the law, it's the only thing they seem to understand. Anybody else getting sick and tired of American entitlement? Feed them to mooses moosey beavers. An American and a Canadian walk into a bar and strike up a conversation about politics. The American complains about the state of the southern border and the Canadian agrees. Canada doesn't want that Okinawa-based trouble. If you are caught in Canadian waters with your transponder turned off, you and your boat should be banned from Canada forever. As a Mexican, reading this is very satisfying. And on the other side of Canada in Newfoundland, one of the only places in the world to be posting consistent no new cases for several months, American soldiers are freely roaming around St. John's on layovers, intimidating front-line staff and lying about having exceptions for mandatory quarantining, just so they can go out and get drunk in bars and restaurants. To all those awesome Americans trying their best to keep others safe against the idiocy we do see you. The idiots are just very loud and dangerous. We're not actually anti-refugee here, just anti-COVID. We just wish people would follow the GD rules and stop reinfecting us after our hard work and sacrifice to flatten the curve. We too have our idiot parade here, made up of people who meet up in public without masks because they refuse to live their lives in fear. Thankfully they're the minority. We are less polarized because we don't have a two-party system. Americans, take your own advice and go back to your own country. If an American wants to marry me for a green card, the price is 500 L of maple syrup, no haggling. No one should be involved in international travel. I know this has been blown up as an anti-American storyline, but every country should shut down border crossings to everyone until a vaccine. This is simple strategy for a pandemic. America is now the Karen on planet Earth. On behalf of the sane-ish American faction, feel free to use torpedoes. Give these entitled cunts a lifetime ban from going to Canada. They should catch these people, fine them and then ban them from entering. The article is somewhat incorrect. ACE transponders are only required on boats that are 300 tons or larger. Most private yachts are well below that limit. Many choose to use one anyways, as a safety precaution, but they're not required for smaller boats. As an American trying to move to Canada, it's infuriating seeing all these idiots making my life way more difficult. I'm literally in limbo waiting to be allowed to cross the border. Using funds and resources month to month that I shouldn't have to, just because political assholes and individual morons can't cover their fucking face or stay inside for a small amount of time. I have empathy for people, wear a mask in public, want equality for everyone, want healthcare and education for everyone, and I served my country for what I thought was pride and patriotism. Nuclear power in the Navy, granted, saying your prior military is usually seen as negative because of all the bootlickers and idiots that join. But I don't endorse enlisting and also changed my stance of pro-military after seeing and experiencing all the injustices. Pat Tillman's stance aligns heavily with me. And life is just shitting on me right now because of selfish assholes. That last paragraph was rambling, but I'm so tired of my life being affected negatively by people who could care less about anyone else other than themselves. I hate the current American government. I hate the American self-entitlement. I hate the backwards-ass, broken political system. I hate what has become of this country. There's a full-out divide in the country and I feel like I'm living out the movie Idiocracy. I knew there were a ton of idiots, but good lord, it astounds me now. It's too bad Canada isn't serious about preventing this sort of behavior. If they threw these folks in jail for a period of 2 weeks for quarantine, then word would get out and maybe the border crossing would stop. As long as the punishment is a polite finger wag, nothing will change. A poll conducted by Nanis Research found that 8 in 10 Canadians want the border to remain closed to non-essential U.S. traffic because of fears of the coronavirus. When I called the U.S. the biggest petri dish in the world, that was not just off the cuff, says Creek.